It's Thursday, March 28th, Friday, March 29th. If you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Deep Talk Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Great way to support this show is to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store because you need one of our t-shirts. And read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel in Suho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to our website, click on the In Suho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. When we look at the subject of UFOs, rarely do we see people of popularity come out and talk about their experiences, unless it's some D-list actor looking to get their name and face back in front of a camera or microphone. Well, tonight we're going to learn some of those stories. Author Stephen Spignesi is here tonight, and he goes into that realm. Stephen is a New York Times best-selling author who writes about historical biography, popular culture, television, film, American and world history, and contemporary fiction. He is also a university professor, novelist, poet, screenwriter, musician, as well as having a great set of hair and just a fantastic goatee. You know how that plays in the Spaced Out Radio family. In addition to writing, Stephen also lectures on a variety of popular cultures and historical subjects, and he's also writing and very well praised for dealing with Stephen King. Yes, we're going to get into a lot with him. Then in the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Stephen Spignesi, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Well, looking at your photos, my friend, that's a great head of hair that you have, along with just one of them powerful goatees. We love to pay homage to good facial hair and a good lock of hair on top of the head as well. So congrats on that, my friend.
Oh, thank you, and I thank my genes, my genetic background. I was born with good genes for hair anyway.
Well, I know the feeling. There is no male pattern baldness here as well. Stephen, let's learn a little bit about you. I mean, here you are a writer. You have published more than 60 books. You're a New York Times bestseller. Did you always want to be a writer?
Yeah, actually, I started when I was 9. My mother remembers me handing her a sheet of notebook paper on which I had written a story with a blue Bic pen. She remembered that. And here's the funny part. I was 9 years old, so I was obviously clueless, and I wrote a spy satire. And she looked at it and said, this is very, very nicely written, Stephen, but, satire might be a little bit out of your reach at this stage of your career. It was great. So I just kept writing through school, and frankly, I made a vow to myself. My dad died when he was 36. He was very young.
Oh, goodness.
He was in the dry cleaning business, and to this day, I think those chemicals were carcinogens, So I ended up making a vow to myself that I wanted to publish professionally. By the time before I'm 36. And I did it. I was 34 when my first book came out, but it took that long. I started writing proposals and writing books and submitting seriously, like in my early 20s, right out of college, and rejections, until finally I sold my first book in 1984. It was called Mayberry, My Hometown, for all you Andy Griffith fans out there. And we sold it to a company in Michigan, in Ann Arbor, that did pop culture reference books. And they ended up doing my second book, which, as you mentioned earlier, Stephen King. It's a Stephen King encyclopedia. It's the size of the Manhattan Yellow Pages. It took me 5 years to do. It's 800,000 words. And then I was off and running on writing about King. And I'm fortunate that I can do like 2 books a year. A lot of writers need or want more time than that. Frankly, I want more time than that, but for many years I was writing full time, and as a full-time writer, you pay double Social Security, you pay for your own medical. I mean, you're on your own. So I did it for 25 years. And I was able to survive. And then around 06, 07, publishing kind of tightened up like housing was doing. And the next thing I know, I wasn't making it. So I got in touch with my alma mater, University of New Haven in Connecticut. And I said I'm available, and I was hired as an adjunct that semester and then promoted to practitioner in residence the following semester. And so I ended up teaching composition and literature for 10 years. And I retired in 2016, and I had done 7 books since then, one of which, Stephen King, American Master, that's my most recent. And essentially, I'm back to writing full-time again. I wrote part-time when I was lecturing and teaching, and now I'm back to full-time again. And that's, in a nutshell, is how I got started and how I've continued to do it. It's a tough industry, but fortunately, I've been able to get a lot of stuff out there.
Let me ask you about being a writer, because there's a little bit of ego, a little bit of praise, a little bit of, self-doubt that goes into every book that you write. How do you maintain the momentum to write that many stories? Because if you look at Tom Clancy, for instance, and God rest him, he's my favorite author ever, no offense. Mm-hmm. He had a team of writers working with him. It wasn't him writing. It was his ideas, probably storyboarded, and they said, okay, boys and girls, go for it. And when I look at that, and you are writing pen to paper on absolutely everything on your own, how do you continue to find that love, that passion to find the words to finish a story?
Well, one of the factors that helps me move smoothly through the writing process and publication process is that 99% of what I do is nonfiction. And with nonfiction, it's very specific. You pick a topic, you outline the book, you do the research, you do the writing. So, for instance, I'm currently writing a book under contract about Elton John. So I can see the finished book in my head because I know he's written 30 albums, he's released 30 albums, and he's written 500 songs, and he's done like 13, 14 musicals. So I can see the research necessary, and then I can do it. My novel, I've written more than one novel, but I've only had one published. It was published by Random House in 2005. That was much more difficult because it isn't easy to simply – I know Tom Clancy does it, as you mentioned. James Patterson does it as well. He can just outline a story. Fiction comes harder to me. So maybe that's why I kind of stay with nonfiction. But honestly, I really love nonfiction. I love doing research. I love thinking about subjects like the presidents or the founding fathers, or I had a very successful book about Robin Williams, about John F. Kennedy Jr. I've written 4 books about the Beatles, 2 about Titanic, which I'm doing a lot of talks about next month because it's the anniversary of the sinking. So I really like the process of digging up content and material and reading books and researching articles and interviewing people. So to answer your question, in my case, it's because I'm working off an outline where I basically fill in the blanks. The first thing I do when I get a nonfiction contract is write a table of contents and then adjust it, modify it, move things around until finally I know exactly what this book is going to look like, and I can see it, as I mentioned, finished. And that happened to me, Dave, with my very first book. I saw the finished Mayberry, my hometown, before I even started writing it. I knew in my mind what it would look like. So the answer to your question is the nonfiction keeps me focused and allows me to do multiple books at once because I know I need to do research and read and so forth. Fiction, I hate to say it because this is writing teachers and fellow writers will always scold a writer who says, I have to wait for inspiration. Writing is a job. You sit down, you work every day, and you turn out material. But I have to, that's probably a flaw in me, is that I do need to be inspired to do fiction. I've had several short stories published in anthologies in the past year or two, and those are short stories that came to me, and I wrote them and found a home for them. But fiction is more difficult for me. And you know something? I know writers, it's exactly the opposite dynamic. They can do short stories and novels like nobody's business. Nonfiction, they think, is the hardest thing in the world to work on. So it's, every artist is different.
It really is an art. And I think a lot of people forget that. What is your opinion in regards to the way, say, the last 5-10 years? Because I have this issue in radio. I try and think that we conduct real radio here. We're not a podcast. We're not a somebody who just has an interest and buys a cheap microphone and goes on Blog Talk Radio and all of a sudden they're a radio star in their head. We're not like that around here. And I would assume it would be the exact same way with someone such as yourself who puts a lot of passion, desire, knowledge, research into books. And yet you have these self-publishers who maybe steal a bunch of stories and then gather them for a book, not under plagiarism or anything like that, but really then call themselves authors. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. The past 5-10 years, the market has been flooded because of the ability to self-publish through things like Create Space on Amazon and other vanity. They call them vanity. They used to call them vanity publishers, or subsidy publishers, because basically, originally, you paid as the author to have your book, quote unquote, published, even though it meant you were paying to have it printed. Now on Amazon, you can self-publish for free. And what this means is that there's the proper process for a book to hit the market is writer to editor to reader. And what has happened with a lot of self-published books is that the editor has been removed from the equation. So you end up with a lot of books that thematically could be better if an editor had kind of helped work on them, and also grammatically and in terms of professionalism, they're replete with spelling errors and typos and grammar problems and so forth. So, some of them, I saw a statistic that the average self-published book barely sells 100 copies. So there's not really a lot of money in terms of it, but a lot of people want their book between covers. And so they will end up self-publishing, have a page on Amazon, and their friends and family may buy a copy. Maybe somebody who's looking for, a gothic romance may be attracted to the blurb, or it might be an Amazon recommend, and so they'll buy it, whether it's a paperback on print on demand or a digital version for a Kindle or a PDF or whatever. But it has flooded the market with a lot of books that are just that need more. They need more work, really. But again, a lot of people really want to be published. And now, I should also say that just because a book is self-published does not preclude the possibility of it being purchased by a trade publisher. It doesn't happen a lot, but publishers are always looking at self-published titles, reviewing them. A matter of fact, remember The Martian with Matt Damon, the movie?
Yes.
That started as a self-published novel, which is stunning. And then it was picked up by a trade publisher, and now he got a major deal for his second book. But he self-published that. He didn't go through the traditional process. So it can happen. where suddenly something becomes very successful, very popular. And the common denominator, Dave, is that there is excellence in the work. I always say excellence will shine through. It will get noticed, and it will rise to the top, as it did with The Martian. Self-publishing has kind of complicated the field of late. And I know that, editors at publishing companies, they're always getting submissions of previously self-published books. And they're not very keen on, the editors I know personally aren't very keen on them, because the majority of them need more work and they don't want to put the work into it. And really sales, it all boils down to, books are merchandise. And if a self-published author can go to Penguin or Random House or Macmillan or Henry Holt or St. Martin's, any of the major publishers, and say, look at this book. This is a self-published science fiction novel. It's long. It's 800 pages, and I've sold 26,000 copies. I mean, editors' eyes are going to open and say, "Really? Well, let's see it," because that author clearly has written something that has spoken to an audience, has a quality to it that people expect when they pay money for a book, and so they may be interested in something like that. But books that sell 100 copies, they're just not going to make that transition, to a trade house.
Speaking of transition, Stephen, I want to gauge your interest in UFOs, because you first wrote your first UFO book back in 2001. You have a new one about to come out in regards to this. Have you always been interested in this topic?
I've always been interested in UFOs, the paranormal, the supernatural, the occult. I've done a book on crop circles with Colin Andrews, who is the world's authority on crop circles. And he lives in Connecticut. He lives right up the road from me. He was born in England and had his first sighting experience. But yeah, UFOs, have always puzzled me and always intrigued me, mainly because there's a lot of credibility in some of the people who have reported sightings, including astronauts. Astronauts have reported. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, there were 3 UFOs sighted around the International Space Station, and NASA has this live feed that you can just watch. There's cameras on the ISS all the time, and there were these 3 bright white lights, like moving in formation outside the International Space Station, and within seconds of them appearing, the NASA feed was cut. But, of course, still photographs exist of what they saw. And there are records, NASA records, that are public domain where they're reporting seeing a bogey that is not a piece of equipment that just happens to be moving around in it, and then, the transmission stops. So, when credible people say something, as fantastic as it may be, I tend to give credence and want to know more. And as I mentioned, I'm kind of an agnostic when it comes to these kinds of subjects. As a writer, I present them to the reader. Here are the facts. Here's what people have said. Here is what we know. Now you tell me what you think. And I carry that principle throughout all my work. And in fact, there are stories about the presidents and the founding fathers, some of which are apocryphal. You don't know if they're really true. And some just have so many people confirming it, you have to believe it's true, no matter how odd it seems. But I present the argument here. This is what was said about Alexander Hamilton or Thomas Jefferson. This is what happened. This is what people say happened. Others say it's unlikely because of this, this, or that. And so it ends up, the reader gets engaged and says, wow, I didn't know that. Wow, let me think about that, and then make a decision, because the academic educational process requires this kind of constant assessment of validity And the only way to do that is to know as much as you can about a subject. So that's why I started looking into UFOs and chronicling things like Project Blue Book, and astronaut sightings and celebrity sightings, like you mentioned, and evidence. And photos and Colin Andrews, when it comes to the crop circles, he says he's the one who has concluded, and this is kind of like canon now. This is like gospel. He has concluded that 80% of all the crop formations in the world are hoaxes. But the other 20% scientifically cannot be proven to be man-made because the elbow of the crop stalk is swollen and bent, not broken. When men go into fields with boards and ropes and laser sights, they break the crops when they form a pattern or a circle or a formation. There are 20% of these formations, however, where the crops are not broken. They actually regrow. And it's almost as though the elbows of these stalks have been microwaved. Now, he's not saying it's aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens or UFOs. It could be, but he's leaning towards some unknown magnetic force that we just have not quantified yet. It could be either. We don't know. But I just like to present the facts to my readers and say, listen, you give me an explanation for this microwaved swollen joint in the cornstalk, and tell me what you think could have done it if it wasn't some force, some unknown force. So it's been a 20-year passion to kind of keep up with all this stuff. I have records of every Connecticut UFO sighting going back to 1956. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
We only have about 45 seconds here before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Stephen, you mentioned that it's a lot of fun going into the UFO realm. How do you deal with the difference between the facts and the woo?
Well, actually, the woo is part of the fun. There are people who are just 100% hardcore believers and don't even allow skepticism in. And I don't think that is intellectually honest. So I just kind of like try and achieve a balance in conversations and when I'm communicating with people and say, well, here are some things that you should think about rationally, because, there is some evidence that is awfully persuasive.
Well, we're going to get into that. And Hollywood UFOs. Author Stephen Spignesi is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. You can go to Amazon, any major bookstore, find any of his 60-plus novels. Highly suggest you do. More Spaced Out Radio in the second half hour coming up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters right here in the frozen tundra of northern Canada. But it's not cold. The snow is melting. I see more grass than snow in my yard now. Very, very pleased about that. Very pleased. Hey, I want to remind all of you that a great way to support this show is do a little shopping in our Spaced Out Radio store. You go to our website, click on the shop tab. We got t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, socks, coffee mugs, and more. Go check it on out. Pick yourself something up. Once again, a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Tonight we are talking with author Stephen Spignesi. He is an author of over 60 books. He's a New York Times bestseller, has won numerous awards, been finalist for awards. This man's done it all. And he's getting into the UFOs. Stephen, welcome back.
Hi, Dave.
Right before the break, we started getting into the whole UFO, USO type aspect of what is actually going on in this world. Now, one of the stories that you have started really compiling a lot of evidence on is the fact that, as we said off our intro, there's a lot of famous people out there who have been public about their UFOs and their sightings, but have maybe had their stories be a little bit forgotten. Why did you, when you started writing, want to look into famous sightings such as this?
Well, because the way culture is today, for some reason, celebrities are incredibly tended to and looked up to and given all kinds of attention and respect, and some of which they don't deserve. And so it's just part of the culture that I said, what if celebrities will tout cures and health foods and all of these treatments, and celebrities who have these, buy this, buy that, it'll keep you healthy, and there are people who subscribe to that kind of stuff. And I'm saying, what would happen if celebrities made a claim that some people just find unbelievable? So I started asking I asked the question, have any celebrities come forward publicly? And oh boy, the short list, because I had to keep these chapters within a reasonable word count in order to make the book feasible. The names that I really kind of zoomed in on were Muhammad Ali, David Bowie, Jimmy Carter, Jamie Farr, Klinger on MASH,
Yes.
Jackie Gleason, Dick Gregory, activist Dick Gregory, John Lennon, Gordon McRae. He was in Oklahoma and Carousel. He's on record. Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, William Shatner. And I said, that's got to be a joke. But no, he was, he's Captain Kirk, So was he serious? But he tells the story that a silver spacecraft flew over him in the Mojave Desert as he pushed his inoperative motorcycle. And he also claims to have received a telepathic message from the beings advising him which direction to walk. He saw an object glistening in the heavens when he finally made his way back to town, and he believed to this day that this object was the UFO from which he had received either extraterrestrial or metaphysical guidance. And it doesn't play as a joke. This is an experience that he had. And in terms of evidence, if he did see this craft and he did get some kind of message saying, walk that way, and that way put him back in town, and then he saw something fly away, I don't know. That sounds pretty convincing, because how else would he have gotten back to town if he wasn't given directions? But yeah, he's a famous celebrity UFO sighter. John Lennon, he admitted that he saw from his Dakota apartment window. He was standing by the window and he saw an oval-shaped object that started flying from left to right over New York, and about 20 minutes it disappeared over the East River behind the United Nations building. And he always said he thinks they had been carrying on research. And it turns out this was in his period when he was separated from Yoko. And it turns out that his paramour, May Pang, also saw the UFO and said it looked like a flattened cone with a brilliant light on top. And John actually, this is a quote, he said, "They all think I'm potty, but it's true. I shouted after it, 'Wait for me, wait for me.'" But he never told anybody because he said he knew that he'd see in the paper the following: "Beetle sees flying saucer. I have enough trouble with the immigration people already." And Ray Coleman, who interviewed him about this and wrote an authorized biography, and he said, "Were you smoking pot? Were you drinking? Were you, on anything?" And he said, "No, God's honest truth." So, you get a guy like John Lennon, William Shatner, and then you get a president, Jimmy Carter. In 1969, he was governor of Georgia. He wasn't president. But he saw something that changed colors and was as big as the moon. He had like 14 or 15 people with him who saw the same thing. He actually filled out a report describing the object and in detail and signed it, Jimmy Carter, governor of Georgia. And then you got somebody like Muhammad Ali. He claims that he has seen 16 UFOs during his life. And he said one was cigar-shaped, which is a very common description of the shape of a UFO. And it appeared over the New Jersey Turnpike. Another one, he said, looked like a huge electric light bulb, and he saw that in Central Park. And a lot of descriptions, that's a common description. And his quote is, "If you look into the sky in the early morning, you see them playing tag between the stars." Now, that might have been just a little poetic license, but he was very adamant that he knows what he saw, and he believes they were not of this earth. So yeah, the list is out there, and the quotes are out there, and the stories are out there. So it just really interested me a lot, especially like Jackie Gleason. He called his house the mothership in Peekskill, New York. He had this big house in Peekskill, and he called it the mothership. He had one of the biggest library of books about UFOs and the supernatural. He subscribed to UFO journals. He claims to have seen retrieved alien craft from Roswell and alien corpses. And Jackie Gleason, you would think, he's a comedic actor, Oh no, he believe it or not, Dave, you can really describe Jackie Gleason as a UFO scholar, because that's the kind of study and attention he put into it.
Right. Stephen, in regards to Jackie Gleason, now I don't know how true it is. You've done a lot of research, but we have brought that subject up, a couple of minor times on this show over the last couple of years. But didn't he actually go with President Nixon, whom he was good friends with, to see one of these craft that was allegedly at Roswell, saw the bodies, And from what I had learned about that, and maybe you can confirm it or not, was that he really was a changed man after that. Like he was always very serious about the topic, but there was something that just hit him about that event. Is that true, or is that just rumor?
That story is in my book. And yeah, Nixon, apparently, here's how the story goes. Nixon was fully aware of the Roswell crash and the retrieval of alien spacecraft and alien bodies, and was known in the inner circles of the administration and among friends to have visited the repository of these extraterrestrial artifacts at Homestead Air Force Base in Florida. And in 1973, he arranged a tour of the facility, complete with a viewing of the alien bodies, for his good friend Jackie Gleason. And according to his wife, Jackie returned home very shaken. And there's a ufologist named Timothy Good. He filed a Freedom of Information Act request to Homestead Air Force Base for all files and records pertaining to Gleason's visit and the repository. The response was, no such records exist. But yes, the story you had heard is common, and yes, apparently it changed him. And the story, according to his wife, that he came home, he was, quite shaken, is the language that's so commonly used. So yeah, Nixon knew about it, showed Jackie, and no records exist. So whether that's true or not, who knows?
So in your opinion, in your research that you did, what shook him up? Was it the fact that it wasn't just War of the Worlds through Orson Welles? What was it?
I think he saw, if it's true, I think he saw that as confirmation of everything that he had been studying, and the reality that we are not alone. To suddenly have that, look how, well, I won't use the word shaken, but look at the uproar when water was discovered on Mars. There are more articles and essays and analyses of what that meant regarding our role in the solar system, in the galaxy, in the universe. Because the biggest question is, are we alone? And for someone like Jackie, who had been studying all this and who is friends with the president, to suddenly be exposed to proof, I think that really shook him up. Again, there's no evidence, but this story has been around since 1973. And it hasn't gone away, and no one has ever stepped forward to refute it. So I think he was just stunned and said, it is true. It is real. And when you combine that with everything that he knew from his studies, and he came across exactly what I've come across. Credible people, military pilots, radar operators, astronauts, reporting things that have no other explanation than, well, there is another explanation for UFOs, but it can't apply to all UFO sightings, that they are secret government craft from our country and other countries. That's the common answer that skeptics provide. Oh, what you're seeing are not alien craft. What you're seeing are secret spy craft that are being made at Area 51, and it's just that, I mentioned I have the complete list of every sighting in Connecticut. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sightings, and some of them are as random as 3 lights formed a triangle and flew up and down over a church or something. A government spy craft? Really? That's what you're explaining that away as? There's more going on. And this is what, UFO buffs and ufologists and many scientists and even astronauts say, there is something definitely going on in the sky. And now with digital photography, it's like a dual-edged sword, because now digital photography means that photos of UFOs can be photoshopped, okay? So we have to take current photos with a grain of salt. However, when I do my UFO Experience Illustrated lecture at libraries, I only show photos from like the 50s and the 60s, like Polaroids or Brownie camera stuff that we didn't have the technology to really dramatically alter. And I'm sure that there are some hoax pictures in there as well, but some of them are just so vivid and so compelling. You got to say, what is this? How could this be anything but a craft that we can't identify? And honestly, that's how I look at my sighting. My sighting fits the definition of being an unidentified flying object. Unidentified. I cannot identify what I saw, so it fits the bill. But it doesn't mean that it's alien. It could have been. It could not have been. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was my eyes. Maybe it was a jet. I don't think so, because its behavior was stuff that current crafts can't do. I saw a silver oval-shaped object moving from south to north in front of my field of vision, and I said, oh, it's a jet. I live near Tweed, New Haven Airport, and we see planes and jets all the time. And I said, oh, it's a jet that took off from Tweed. But then this thing, and this was broad daylight, and I was caffeinated too. It was early, so I had my coffee, and it was flying through my field of vision. And the thing suddenly stopped, backed up, and then winked out, and the sky was clear. And the light turned green, and I continued on my way. But I know what I saw, and I reported it. I did file a UFO sighting report, and to this day, I don't know what I saw.
In regards to the stars, let's get back to Jackie Gleason here for a second, because I think that's kind of important. You mentioned there is no official document in regards to the fact that he was with Nixon at a Florida Air Force base viewing this stuff, whatever it may have been from Roswell, bodies, wreckage, you name it. Has any of Gleason's closest friends from 1973 onward ever talked about this story? Do we know if he talked to anybody or gave out any information, even if it was they're real or something like that? Or was he absolutely silent about it because he didn't want to break the trust of Nixon at the time?
That's a great question, and the answer is the latter. He never went on record confirming this story. However, we got the facts from others who knew him, including his wife, who commented to someone at how upset she was at what Jackie's state when he returned from the visit. Clearly a presidential visit to an Air Force base, there should have been a clock. They call it the tick-tock. Every day, every minute of the president's day is chronicled. But there are no Timothy Good was told no records exist of this visit. So clearly, Jackie told someone, and someone told others, and his wife commented on it, but he never went on record confirming the story. And I agree with you. I think it was because he did not want to betray the trust that his friend, President Nixon, had put in him.
Interesting. Very, very interesting in regards to that. So moving on, because we only got about 3 minutes before we go to break, but I want to get into John Lennon. Now, John Lennon was in New York, very vocal with the fact that he had seen a UFO. There are even alleged rumors of him speaking about that he was taken. When you looked into that story, considering that Lennon did do an interview on camera about it, maybe a couple, what's your thoughts about that?
I've always been a little bit on the fence about being taken. he might have been having an experience. I mean, there are all kinds of these delusional, hallucinogenic type of experiences that drug users can have. I'm not saying he was on LSD or mescaline or tripping. The only validity I would assign to that would be, well, I don't know, maybe. But his comments on the sighting itself, he says it with such certainty and with such vivid description and with such assurance that he wasn't high. That I tend to believe more. I am kind of positive he saw something. As to whether he was abducted, I'm still on the fence.
Why would you be on the fence with that?
I don't know, because it isn't something that's dominant in his legend, in his story. And I mean, people. I've met a couple of abductees, and I knew John Mack, who wrote. He was a professor at Harvard, and he was killed in a car accident. He wrote a whole book on called Abducted, in which he interviewed people who claim to have been abducted by aliens. And you don't kind of coast through life if this happens to you. You don't make an off-comment remark, oh, yeah, I was also taken on the craft. I don't know. That sounds to me like he may have been confabulating, or it may have been a delusion. It may have happened, but I didn't, from my studying of John, both for this and for my Beatles books and reading quotes and stuff, you don't just like blow off an abduction. It usually is so life-changing that many people, I mean, this is their entire focus and their entire kind of obsession for the rest of their life. And it just seems to be a little bit too flip for me. But that's me personally. I mean, there may be some writings out there that I haven't read everything. I would never claim to have read every book about John and read every quote about John. But the ones that I have seen and I've heard that story, it just doesn't seem like it impacted him as bad or as significant dramatically.
Stephen, I'm going to have to cut you off right there because we got to go to break here on Spaced Out Radio at the top of the hour. More Hollywood UFOs on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel, the freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social media freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi, George and Ori here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, we end the week with the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, in Noonan, Georgia, WQEE 99.1 FM, and in New Orleans, Louisiana, UPRN 107.7 FM on the digital side. Hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Great to have you with us. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Sansa. Sansa is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night, right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Great way to support this show is to go get yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie, a hat, whatever it is, from our Spaced Out Radio store. And, of course, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. Tonight we are talking with award-winning author and New York Times bestseller Stephen Spignesi. And we are talking UFOs and Hollywood. A lot of people who are famous have come out claiming to have witnessed UFOs. Stephen, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Dave.
Pleasure to have you here. Pleasure to have you here. Now, right before the break, we were talking about John Lennon and Jackie Gleason and their famous sightings. But one that you really like was the fact that former President Jimmy Carter, when he was still governor, claimed to have witnessed with a number of people a UFO. Why don't you tell us that story?
Yeah, it happened on January 6, 1969. He was governor of Georgia at the time. He wasn't president yet. And he saw a huge round object that changed colors, and he described it as big as the moon. He was coming out of a meeting with several other gentlemen, and they all saw it. And he then filed a report, a NICAP UFO sighting report, in 1973. 4 years later, he was still so confident that he had seen something unearthly that he decided to go on the record. And I have it in the book, actually, the actual report that he filled out describing location, time, distance from object, shape of object, lights, colors, other witnesses, and signed it, Jimmy Carter. That's a huge statement toward, first of all, adding credibility, again, to the entire phenomenon and the entire experience. And it also kind of speaks to the idea that when someone sees something, many of them must tell you. It's 4 years later. Why didn't he file a NICAP report, in 69? I don't know. Who knows? But 4 years later, he requested the official NICAP form and filled it out, which means what? it means it stayed with him. And now this guy is a PhD. So once again, if we want to talk about intelligence and education and experience as contributing factors toward credibility and believability, Jimmy Carter passes the test. And once again, it does confirm that there are these odd experiences that people have and these sightings. And when they don't, I guess the question is, well, yeah, he was making it up. Jimmy Carter, governor of Georgia, U.S. president, 4 years after he saw something he couldn't explain, he decided to make it all up and file a report. So I assign tremendous credibility toward his citing that it was something that was beyond our ken. And so did Jimmy Carter. Yeah, I consider that a very significant sighting.
Yet when he became president, all of a sudden he went silent on it.
Yeah, because it's a it's a common joke in American culture and politics that matter of fact, I've heard presidential candidates make this joke all the time. Oh, now I'll finally find out the truth about UFOs. I just don't think he wanted to weigh into that and wade into those kinds of waters, because media would focus solely on that, and they would ask him a million questions, and he'd be mocked. And, the presidential utterances carry far more weight than ordinary citizens or even a governor's. So I think he just kind of see my report, and I have nothing else to say about it. I can't blame him. I mean, the media would have just gone crazy with that. It would have been a total fixation, and it would have distracted from everything else that was going on. So yeah, I can understand that. I really can.
Well, I can understand it too. I mean, when you're a man of power and you're somebody who is being pushed into that level, you have to have some sort of modicum of silence, especially when it comes to extremely sensitive topics like the UFO topic can be. And if you go back to the 70s and 80s, when, we're seeing the last real stretches of control that religion had on a lot of people.
Right.
Even though people still went to the church. People still, it's not like it is today where people are finding their own spirituality much more than using religion. And that's not a shot at religion for anybody who's listening. It's not a shot at all. It's the reality of where we are. And I don't think he wanted to scare a lot of people.
Well, yeah, it does kind of pull the rug out from under hardcore religious believers, because it completely deflates their entire belief system, because the majority of the common religions, especially in the U.S. and Canada, God created the world and everything in it and us, and gave us the earth as our own because we're so special. We're the only, beings that ever made. And then to hear stories about that hint at the suggestion that we're not alone. Yeah, that can be really upsetting to people who have been born and raised with, the mythology, the Christian mythology, or any religious belief system. So I agree with you completely. I think he just realized he'd be opening a can of worms and perhaps getting into areas of discussion that he just didn't feel was appropriate for his role. Like you said, a man of power. And it's, the thing, Reagan too. Reagan had a UFO sighting in 1974 when he was governor. And the story goes that, he was flying in a Cessna. He owned a Cessna Citation, or he was renting it or whatever, near Bakersfield, California. And it was like between 9 and 10 at night. And his pilot, a guy named Bill Painter, said that they all saw an object, a big light that was flying a bit behind the plane. it was fairly steady, and it began to accelerate. Then it appeared to elongate, and then it flew away at a 45-degree angle very rapidly, which is a behavior reported in many other UFO sightings. A lot of the pilots in Project Blue Book report the object then flew out at a 45-degree angle at unimaginable speed. And Reagan, you talk about presidents going on the record with stuff like this. He told a reporter for the Wall Street Journal. We followed it for several minutes. All of a sudden, to our utter amazement, it went straight up into the heavens. When I got off the plane, I told Nancy about it, and we read up on the long history of UFOs. Norman Miller was the name of the reporter who had interviewed Reagan, and he took the leap and said, he asked Reagan point blank, do you believe in UFOs? And Reagan immediately distanced himself from the serious UFO believers, even though it was obvious that he believed what he saw qualified as one. But his quote is, let's just say that on the subject of UFOs, I'm an agnostic. So, there's that tap dancing, Dave, that goes on, the rhetorical tap dancing, that people of power, they hedge because, it just has such impact when they say something, and that got very little play too. So, there's so many other things going on in the world though. And this is fringe stuff for a lot of people. So there tends to be this dismissal of this kind of information or this kind of knowledge or these kinds of stories, even though anything else these people tell us, we believe. And yet there would be that hesitation to buy in, quote unquote, to something like that Cessna story, even though there are people who went on the record and gave quotes, so.
Well, I mean, it also brings up a very good question in regards to United States presidents, because there is the rumor, many people will say it's fact, that each president, when they come into office, are shown the UFO files and told that this is real, but we do not speak about this. Yet every now and again, we get a little snippet. Whether it's Nixon and Gleason, whether it's Carter, whether it's Reagan, who allegedly, after viewing the movie E.T. at the White House with Steven Spielberg, went up to Spielberg and said, you don't know how real this actually is.
Right. I know that.
I'm paraphrasing there.
Yeah.
And then you have Hillary Clinton being caught with a book from the Rockefeller Initiative. Bill Clinton going on the record saying that, one of the first questions he asked was, what about the UFOs in Roswell? And, he kind of laughed it off on national television saying that, there's nothing to it, Right. But the fact is, too much is happening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought that was hilarious when Bill Clinton kind of, it suggested that there were things to know, but maybe not really. And, like I mentioned earlier, it's an ongoing joke. And yet many do believe, as you say, that there is that secret NASA, NSA, CIA kind of, triad of knowledge and information that exists. But, and I'll tell you, I know somebody who used to work in the Reagan administration, and he has since passed away, but he told me, that there's a story going around that the reason that governments worldwide will not admit that there are alien crafts or beings on the planet, that Roswell was not anthropomorphic dummies, that there really were bodies, is because the War of the Worlds debacle, when people panicked, has told governments, the ordinary citizen can't handle the truth. Like Jack Nicholson in You can't handle the truth. And apparently that's been the story. I've heard it from many people that the government will never come clean on UFOs because they think we'll panic. And, that when the War of the Worlds broadcast on Halloween, we're being invaded by Martians, and people panicked and fled. And there was all this uproar and havoc and chaos. And I heard that governments look to that as proof that we can't handle what they know. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's what I've been told, that they do have this knowledge, and they'll never reveal it. But like you said, every now and then, the presidents admit to something, or somebody makes a joke, or all the candidates, oh, now I'll get to really see what the truth is. And so it's fascinating, really. And it speaks to how, the dynamic between the populace and the government is kind of like fine-tuned to keep everybody calm.
Well, I mean, that is their job, to keep the citizens calm, to keep them working, to keep them paying taxes and not questioning the narrative. Every government has that. We could go down that road very deeply and very easily and get political. But on the UFO side of things, do you think the presidents know more than what they lead on, considering that so many of them seem to have had their own experiences?
Oh, I absolutely I wouldn't doubt that. Even if, as we were talking about earlier, even if the majority of sightings are perhaps clandestine government craft or spy craft, or even if like the majority may not be paranormal, but some might be, to answer your question, yes, I believe they know much more than we are allowed to know. The Freedom of Information Act has been really kind of a blessing for a lot of stuff that has that needed to be brought out into the open on a whole range of subjects. But the problem with that is that the sensitive stuff, the redactions are unbelievable. The black magic marker that goes through, they got the wide Sharpies, I think, and if you make a request for something, you might get something, but 80% of the pages might be blacked out. So yes, I do think that there's a lot more to know than is revealed, and like you say, I think it's intentional, and that they feel it's necessary. Keep everybody happy, paying taxes, working, keep everything bubbling along, and not throw any monkey wrenches into the whole belief system of the average citizen, because there's a chance that it could wreak havoc.
Renee has a question in our chat room for you, and she is asking, have you ever heard anything about Steven Spielberg himself having his own experiences, that Close Encounters of the Third Kind was based off his own experience? Has he said that or not?
I don't know if he has said that, but I have heard that. In fact, going back to what you were talking about when Reagan saw E.T., Close Encounters, somebody, I don't remember who said it. It could have been Reagan, but somebody said, Close Encounters was actually a documentary. It was not fiction. So it would not surprise me if Spielberg ultimately comes clean someday and says, I had a sighting, I had an experience. Or it would also not surprise me if he simply tapped into the memories and experiences of people who claim to have had the type of experiences that go on in Close Encounters. So to answer her question, I don't know if he has or not, but I have heard what she's heard, definitely.
No, absolutely. And getting back to the whole movie of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, if we take a look at movies here for the next couple of minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour, there really hasn't been another high-quality movie like Close Encounters, in my opinion, about aliens and UFOs. And one that is as real as that one seems. I mean, we get a lot of CGI today. Sure, there's movies that take things and blow it out of proportion. We look at Independence Day, which in my opinion is a fear-mongering type of movie towards any type of ET contact. In your opinion, has Hollywood really blown this topic out of proportion, or have they done it justice ever since Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I don't think they've done it justice. I think that the UFO-themed movies, sci-fi movies, are being written purely fancifully. It's purely fiction. And I don't think that you're right. Close Encounters took a very serious look at a very common experience for UFO percipients. And Spielberg did it right. From that point on, aliens were monsters, or they were, like in Independence Day, they were clearly the enemy. It just hasn't been, and I think one of the reasons might be that it really needs to be done as a documentary. Whoever was with Reagan and mentioned that, Close Encounters was more of a documentary than fiction. There perhaps needs to be a major motion picture within the 90-minute to 2-hour range of showing the actual experiences of people who claim to have had these kinds of experiences, and take it very seriously. It's all fantasy and violence, and the majority of UFO percipients, the most common alien is described as the gray, and there hasn't been a movie, or I don't know, I haven't seen everything, but I think I would have heard, where grays were treated as the definitive alien type of creature, and whatever they're capable of doing. Some of the abduction films, like Fire in the Sky,
yes,
they try and show the abduction experience, but again, the alien is the enemy.
But Travis Walton, in that case, who I will be meeting later on this year at Alien Cosmic Expo. Yeah, I mean, he's come out and said the movie was nothing like his personal experience. And, he, because of a non-disclosure agreement, he had to wait a number of years before he could really talk about that. And maybe this is a topic we can continue on here through our break at the bottom of the hour here. But I think that goes to show that, even though it may be based on a true story, how loosely based is it? And I think that's the danger, Steve. That's the danger that we have, especially when Hollywood has so much influence on the public.
Well, they're making an entertainment product. And they've done it a million times. They are going to want to entertain, and they have all of these algorithms that say, well, we need this, we need that, we need this. And very often stories, even based on true stories, get distorted. They combine characters,
True.
They eliminate scenes, they change dialogue. And then, like you mentioned with Travis, later, that's not what happened, man. I mean, let me, read my book.
Exactly.
That's what happened,
All right, my friend, you hold on. Steve Spignesi is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to talk more Hollywood UFOs right after this on the Big SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have all of you with us, including the lovely and talented crowd at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. That includes you, Snickers. How y'all doing tonight? Remember, a good way to support what we do on this show is to go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the shop tab. Head to our store, pick yourself up a coffee mug, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, you name it, we got it. Great way to support what we do. Dave Scott sitting in the captain's chair here at SOR headquarters. We're talking Hollywood and UFOs with award-winning author and New York Times best-selling author Stephen Spignesi. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Hello, David.
Always a pleasure to have a man of your hair growth and goatee stature.
Thank you.
Much appreciated that. Much appreciated. It's award-winning, that's for sure. Yes, we enjoy that. It never gets old. It never gets old. I could tell you that. I could totally tell you that. Right before the break, Steve, we were talking about Hollywood movies, about how they seem to change the narrative. And I want to start off with a question from Uncle Dale, who has a real nice mustache. And he is asking in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook, what did you think of the movie Contact? Did you see it? If so, what was your perception of how the Hollywood portrayed extraterrestrials?
Actually, Contact was great. And, Carl Sagan, I read the book and I saw the movie, and, I think the source ended up resulting in a great movie. I think it was well done. I think it had a lot of science to it. I had enormous respect for Carl Sagan. I had read the book when it first came out. Actually, I got the book when I was a member of the Book of the Month Club. Remember that? The Book of the Month Club? Is it still
that's old school. That's
Is it
old
still
school.
in existence? I don't even know if they're still, out there, but I was in it for a couple years, 3 years actually, and Contact was the book of the month, and I read it and I said, wow, Sagan, the guy is just, brilliant and grounded, and he really knew his stuff, and so the movie was very well done. I enjoyed it, and congratulations on your mustache.
Absolutely. Never miss a compliment on a good mustache. That's for sure. What about movies like Battle for Los Angeles, Independence Day? Now, I realize fear sells, and trying to get to that type of component, obviously they're quite sci-fi in movies, but it still, pushes people's opinions about ETs and UFOs in a negative light.
And I think it's because you said it. They're science fiction. A lot of sci-fi movies are based on fiction, novels, short stories. And what we're talking about, they're both fruits, the apples and oranges. They're both fruits. But there's a difference between trying to represent what many people have experienced and what many people believe and what a lot of people have claimed as having happened to them versus taking a novel which has no limits. Anything can happen in a novel. I mean, was The Martian realistic? Not with today's science. And yet it, I'm sure a lot of people now believe that ultimately when we land on Mars, everything that we saw is going to happen. But it's science fiction, and fiction means made up. So the thing with a lot of the movies, you said it, fear sells. And when stuff is based on fiction, you're taking one author's perspective. You're taking one author's story. War of the Worlds. Okay. Now that was a novel, and it purely came from Wells. I mean, it came out of his head as to what would happen if we were attacked by Martians. And yet there's no real evidence or truth to support the story he told. But now it's become iconic, and so there's a lot of people who will buy into it. And this is the problem. This is the danger of having things depicted on the screen that are the creation of a screenwriter or an adaptation of something that a novelist wrote. So we need to keep them separate. I think, Close Encounters came very close to endorsing, supporting, depicting what is a common thread of narrative in the UFO experience. But all this other stuff, if that's the case, how about Alien? Is that what we're in for? And that's purely made up fiction. There's no real concrete kind of evidence that anything like that would ever happen. But it's become this monumental impact on the whole sci-fi and alien kind of universe. So, it's what happens when the profit motive is dominant when it comes to entertainment product. They'll often, just do what is exciting, whether or not there's any validity to it. Make sense?
Absolutely. Catherine in the chat room is asking, since we brought up the movie Battle for Los Angeles, what do you think about the real event? Do you think it was staged? Do you think it was actual aliens over top of L.A. at that time? What's your thoughts?
I don't really have anything much to say about it. I just haven't given enough thought to whether or not there was any kind of merit in it, any kind of validity to it. I saw it, but I didn't really do the research, and I wouldn't want to just, comment willy-nilly on it. I'll make a point of seeing it again. But no, I don't have much else for you on that.
In regards, as we continue with movies here for a few minutes, to Steven Spielberg's way of doing things comparatively to the rest of Hollywood, and then if you look at video games, the way they have really taken the ET aspect to a very devious side, do you think that over the years since Close Encounter, excuse me there, that the idea over the last 25, 29 years, let's go since 1990, 91 when Fire in the Sky came out in that area. I think it was 94, that there has been a real depiction of trying to paint UFOs and alien contact with some sort of negative brush. So for the most part, not all, but for the most part, to try and convince people that all aliens are bad, and therefore, if ET contact happens, we should prepare for some sort of astral war or something along those lines.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a given. I think aliens are presented as the other. And that's a very, very common theme in novels, movies, TV shows, and yet very often it's just an expansion of treating someone or something that isn't us as an enemy or an adversary. Movies can do it by race, by nationality, by political association, and then just take it up one more notch and let's make it aliens, other beings completely. We've seen it with man versus animal, man versus man, man versus corporations, man versus temptation. So anything that depicts the adversary as the other is very common in fiction and film. And, science fiction is just kind of one more slice of the pie, one more aspect of giving the protagonist an antagonist.
Right.
And it's a lot more fun to have it be an alien. Let's face it, because why? You can, as a matter of fact, all of the Marvel stuff, you superheroes versus the enemy, the bad guy, and they have powers. Who has this power? Who has that power? So depicting aliens, superheroes, all that stuff, and we can give them as creators, as writers, and as artists, we can give them powers, which of course no one can fly, no one can become invisible, no one can flame on. But it's wonderful. It's great fun to see that depicted and have them fight an adversary. So yes, I think absolutely the idea of just elevating the concept of the alien to, quote, the other, and then pitting them against us, poor mankind, poor human, is very, very standard today. And frankly, this is why a lot of critics especially are talking about, everything is formulaic, because you got to have this and you got to have that. And let's spice it up by letting him let the adversary be able to levitate or time travel, or let's make him an alien that wants to abduct him or run tests on him or whatever. So yeah, I think it's just an indicator of where we are in popular culture, movies, TV shows, and fiction. I mean, you got to have that. You got to have it. Protagonist, antagonist.
Absolutely. That's what creates money. But there are so many real good stories out there, and we really haven't seen a good ET abduction story on a major film since probably Communion.
Right.
The Whitley Strieber story.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people who don't buy that, and let's face it, nobody wants to be probed out there.
Right.
But the whole idea behind it is you take Strieber, you take Fire in the Sky. I mean, you could use that. However, what is true in it and what really isn't. For instance, I found out recently about that there were not 6 people in the truck when it happened. There were 7 in real life. And that they combined 2 of the brothers as one person in the movie to cut costs.
Yep.
So, I mean, right there, you're taking the fiction or the reality out of, and making it fiction, pardon me. So you take away Communion, and Fire in the Sky probably next. I mean, you think, why hasn't a movie been done about Betty and Barney Hill? Or up here in Canada, Stephen Michalek. who was literally burned by a UFO. I mean, this is all stuff that we want to be able to see.
Yeah. The hills in particular, that's an extraordinary story. But, the thing is, they do market studies, and they do, pre-screens, and they do polling. And, honestly, I think that we have become cynical and jaded. Notice that the films that are really successful, a lot of them are the superhero. Notice how more extreme the enemies are compared to just like an alien who may want to probe you. I think that the internet has made people cynical and jaded, in combination with what you mentioned earlier, CGI that literally shows us anything. Anything can be depicted with CGI. So we've gotten really jaded about what is believable to us. And I think that's why there's this trend in movies. Everything is so extreme. The violence has gotten much more extreme. Depictions of superheroes, they are very dramatic, they've got incredible powers. It's not, the original Superman films. What could he do? He flew, he had the vision, but it wasn't like what superheroes can do today in film, I'm talking about. And I think a big part of it is that, we've all grown up now with this digital interface that allows us to literally see anything and everything, experience everything. So entertainment has ratcheted up all of the tropes in the protagonist-antagonist relationships. And this has even kind of trickled down into literary stuff, like the Big Little Lies miniseries on HBO. The protagonist was the mother, who was just so extreme in poisoning the kid. And the experiences, we wouldn't have seen that 30 years ago. It would have been hinted at. And now we see it. And the main character, the cutting, in the past, if a female character cut herself, it was subtle. It was maybe suggested. It was maybe not actually shown. Amy Adams in the miniseries, I mean, good heavens, what the makeup effects were phenomenal, but it's so extreme compared to what has been. And I just think that that has transmuted into sci-fi films and has kind of changed the protagonist-antagonist formula. And now the formula is just, some people say over the top. Some say we want more. And this speaks to your question about video games. If you notice that now video games have ratings, and they are some are really, really much more violent. I mean, years ago when I used to play video games, they were a lot less, I'll just say a lot less than what they are now. And so I think that society, popular culture, entertainment has changed drastically. And so maybe that answers your question as to, why there's no quote unquote honest depiction of the UFO experience.
We got about 4 minutes here before we got to go to break here at the top of the hour to wrap up hour number 2. And I want to get into Project Blue Book here, because this is a new popular television series that is on, talking about, the stories of J. Allen Hynek and other people like that who are investigating. But once again, you look at television, very high ratings for this show, but for the majority of people not in the know who are watching this story, they are not really getting the true perception of what those stories were, because they have been cast into that fictional setting again. What's your thoughts of that?
Well, I did a lot of work on Project Blue Book for my book. I'm not aware of just how close they're hewing to the original reports and the reality of what Project Blue Book was. But from what you're saying, it sounds like they're not. They're just using that as the anchor title and perhaps, picking and choosing. But Project Blue Book was basically a government program to investigate UFO sightings from 1947 to 1970. And there were 12,618 reports. If they are pulling from those reports to create fictional depictions of the event, that could work. And that might be true to the source. But the majority of these things are set, in the 40s and 50s. So I haven't done enough study on the show to see how close they're going to it. But in the work that I did was go through all 12,618 reports. And would you believe the government explained 12,000 of them? They came up with scientific, provable explanations for 12,000 UFO reports. But there were 618 reports that the government simply could not explain. They washed their hands of them and said these are not explainable. And what I did was I went through the 618 and I pulled out the 218 that were made by military personnel. And to me, that's what I include in the book, the 218. To me, that is another example of how when credible people report something, they must be taken seriously. And so from 1947 through 1970, matter of fact, I'll give you one quick example because I know you're on the clock. 1949, Tuesday, January 4th, 2 p.m., Hickam Field, Hawaii. U.S. Air Force pilot Captain Paul Story was on the ground. His experience was brief, but he saw a flat white elliptical object with a matte top circling while oscillating to the right and left and then sped away at an unimaginable speed. This is an Air Force pilot who is on the record as having seen what he saw. And there were no aircraft in existence at the time that could do what he saw this craft do. So what do we do with that? Do we dismiss it or do we take it seriously? I err on the side of taking it seriously. And that is essentially what Project Blue Book consisted of. And I found most fascinating the inexplicable ones, and then particularly the ones I pulled out for the book, which are all by people whom have unimaginable credibility. So that's where Project Blue Book works for me. But I will make a point of seeing how close they've come to, the adaptation, the TV adaptation.
My friend, I'm going to get you to hold on here at the top of the hour as we are going to step away for just a short time. We're going to kick off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio. We're going to get into Stephen King. Stephen Spignesi is our guest tonight, the New York Times bestselling author. Knows all about this topic. We're going to find out from the King of Horror right after this.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Glad to have you back for the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Tomorrow night on the show, we end the week with the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. I'm bringing in some friends. We'll talk about the month that was in the weird and strange. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX, 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE, 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, Louisiana. Remember, we are also digitally on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Great to have you with us. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. To Santa. Oh, I totally blew that. To Sansa. There we go. To Sansa is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. You can support this show by shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much more. For the final time tonight, we introduce New York Times best-selling author Stephen Spignesi. He is the author of over 60 books, any type of genre you want, from UFOs to celebrities and everything in between. Stephen, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Dave. It's a blast.
You've also done a lot of research and studying on the man who they call the King of Horror, I always want to say Steven Spielberg, but Stephen King. Now, he's had just the most wildest imagination coming up with a lot of this stuff, going back to It, The Thing, Maximum Overdrive, you name it. He's written about it. Now, a lot of people will say out there, and I like gentleman B. Baker's comment in one of our chat rooms, said that Stephen seemed to write the best when he was on drugs a lot of the time, and early on in his career. That's where things got really whacked out. What's your thoughts?
Well, that's an interesting point. I think King, starting from the beginning, I've written 6 books about King. My first was the Stephen King Encyclopedia, which is 800,000 words. It was sanctioned by King. It was my first book about King. It took 5 years to write. And then I did 2 Stephen King quiz books, then the lost work of Stephen King, the essential Stephen King, and my most recent book is Stephen King, American Master. Now, the thing about King is that there are 3 phases to his career. There's classic King, classic with a K, and I did not come up with that, I swear. But they call it Classic King, and it's Carrie through, Dolores Claiborne, give or take. Then there's Mid-Period King, and then there is Post-Accident King. And what our friend is describing is probably Classic King, and that once he was clean and sober, his writing changed. I see his writing changing after the accident. The accident that almost killed him in 1999 came after his transition from the monsters outside, the monsters without, like It, which was his final word on the Mummy and Dracula and Frankenstein and the Wolfman, etc., because Pennywise could turn into all of them, into the more monster within. Misery, Dolores Claiborne, Gerald's Game, Rose Madder. These are psychologically intense. The Dark Half. These are psychologically intense thrillers. And so the writing has changed. And then he had his accident where he was almost killed. And the work that came after that has been, frankly, more literary. It's less Classic King, but it's mainly because he decided to kind of get away from monsters, which he had been, Haunted Car and the Possessed Dog and Carrie, who could start fires, and Firestarter, she could start fires. So Carrie, she was telekinetic. So Charlie in Firestarter was pyrokinetic. Dead Zone, he had the ability to see the future. So once he kind of veered away from that, and as a writer, he has continually expanded. And even his most current book, which is Elevation, which came out last October 30th, actually the same day that my American Master came out, is one of the best things he's ever written. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a novella, but they published it as a $20 hardcover because of its significance in his body of work. He had just published The Outsider, which was extraordinary, and then he comes out with this slim book about a character who, it's basically a Christ allegory. There are elements of the ascension. There are elements of enlightenment in it. It's his most spiritually significant work since The Green Mile. And so there are fans, and I come across them every single day, who only like the early stuff. Then there are fans who see the mid-period as something where King was kind of transitioning. And then finally, the post-accident series, which he's in now, is much more sophisticated. It's more literarily significant. Books like 11/22/63 is absolutely brilliant. And yet it's not a horror novel. It's a time travel, historical, alternate history drama about what would happen if Kennedy was never assassinated. Revival is as if H.P. Lovecraft came back to life and wrote a contemporary novel. So I totally understand this point, and it has a lot of validity. But I kind of look at King's entire career, and I've studied it since his childhood writings. I mean, I have stuff that he wrote when he was 12, 13, all the way up through now. And I just think that he's much more significant, much more important, much better than the perception. And the reason is that a lot of people judge him by his movies. And, he tells the story of shopping, pushing a shopping cart in a grocery store in Florida. And a woman came up to him and said, "You're Stephen King. I don't like your movies." And he said, "Well, what about like The Shawshank Redemption?" And she said, "Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite movies." And he said, "Well, how about The Green Mile?" And she said, "Oh, that's fantastic. I cried." He said, "Those are my stories." And she said, "No, they're not." And she pushed her cart down a lot of people can't believe that Stephen King could be writing such emotionally intense, non-horror drama. And so ultimately, I think the thing with King is that he is a writer of the ages. He's an American writer that I would call the Twain, Dickens, and Poe of our time. I think he's still going to be being read 50 years from now. And in my book, the first half is all interviews and essays about King's significance as a writer, and the second half are bullet-pointed facts about every single thing King has written. So it's kind of like a reading book and a browsing book. And, the people who say, oh, King's only a horror writer, the New Yorker, King has published like 15 pieces in the New Yorker over the years, which is a very significant venue for a writer. I mean, the New Yorker is a hugely important magazine to appear in. And he's done 14, 15 pieces for the New Yorker. And they did an essay. The book editor did an essay like 3 years ago called Stephen King Isn't. And the next line was just a horror writer. King has won the National Book Award for Lifetime Achievement. He's won the National Medal of Art given to him by President Obama. He won the O. Henry Award for Best Short Story for The Man in the Black Suit. He has appeared in Plowshares, which is a very important literary journal. As I mentioned, he's published in the New Yorker. So the idea is that my thesis from day one, after I read The Shining, and then went back to Carrie and Salem's Lot, and then just completely immersed myself in everything he's done ever since, is that King is an important American writer, and that we shouldn't take for granted that we're alive while he's still creating, exactly how I feel about Paul McCartney, one of the greatest songwriters in the history of popular music, and we are alive while he's still creating. It would be like going to see a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical like in its debut on Broadway. That's the experience that we're all going through when King writes a new book or Paul does a concert or releases an album. That's a long-winded answer, but I think it makes the point.
In regards to the talent that he has, these days, a lot of the big-name writers are just standing behind their name, and they have a team of secret writers who are behind them really writing the story off of a storyboard. Is that what Stephen King is doing now, much like Tom Clancy was doing?
No, James Patterson does that. Tom Clancy did that. No, King has co-written he's co-written The Talisman with Peter Straub and Black House, the sequel to The Talisman, with Peter Straub, great American writer, and he co-wrote Sleeping Beauties with his son Owen King. But other than that, every word King writes is from King himself because he works every day. And I used to tell my writing students, they say, oh, I can't find the time to write, or I'm not inspired. And I said, you got to get out of that mindset. You got to consider writing as a job. And King does. He gets up every day and he cranks out 1,500, 2,000 words no matter what, 7 days a week. And if you do the math, you'll realize that is 2 major novels a year. And people say, oh, he's very prolific. Yes, he is, because he works at it. It's his job and his avocation and his calling. So he's always writing. And no, he does not. Every word that comes from King is from King himself. He does not do any of that kind of stuff where he farms out the idea to someone else.
Robin has a question here in the chat room. He is asking, what do you think of Stephen King's son Joe Hill's style of writing?
Oh, I love it. I love Joe Hill. And in fact, Owen King is a more literary writer. Joe Hill is very, very much like his father. And in fact, you know something? After he had his accident in 99, he was interviewed. And one of the very common questions was, oh my God, are you going to finish the Dark Tower series? What happens if you die? People actually asked him, if you die, what's going to happen with the Dark Tower series? I mean, not, oh, yeah, we'll miss you, but what about the books, Well, King took it in good spirit, and he laughed it off. But his answer was, well, I think Joe could finish them. And the question came up, well, what about unfinished work? What if something happens to you and you've got a half a novel? or a short story collection that's half complete or so. And he again said, I think Joe could finish them. So Joe Hill's style, to answer his question, I think is as close. It really does speak of the apple not falling far from the tree. Owen is a little bit different. Although Sleeping Beauties, he comes pretty close to having a voice that resonates with readers the way his father's voice, literary voice, narrative voice does. So between the three of them, their body of work is just awesome. And in fact, I've got a book in the works called Stephen King's Kin, the writings of Tabitha King, Joe Hill, and Owen King, because I think that they're all creating writing for the ages. And Tabitha King is a brilliant writer. She's written 8 novels, a nonfiction book. Joe Hill is very prolific. Owen is just great. Matter of fact, after Sleeping Beauties, Owen is now leading the writer's room for the new miniseries adaptation of The Stand. So he's immersed in his father's work too. So I just think it's incredible. It's an American family that is just, making artistic contributions to the culture that I can't think of another family that has been this prolific.
What left is there for them to do in the genre of horror or suspense?
Oh, there's more of everything. King is an idea factory, as is his sons. One of the jokes he makes is that, one of the questions he's always asked is, where do you get your ideas? And he always says, Utica. There's a little shop on a corner, and I go up there and get ideas. But on writing, his nonfiction writing tutorial, also autobiography, he talks about how ideas are everywhere. And basically, it's the execution of the idea that determines whether or not a work is going to be something that will appeal to others. So I interviewed Jerry Williamson, a horror writer who passed away several years ago. I interviewed him for my Stephen King encyclopedia, and I asked him the same question. I said, do you think King will run out of ideas, or do you think that he's tapped the well, or what do you think? And he says, oh, no. Because Stephen King is a noticer. He can notice behavior or actions or hear something or just posit something. And King is a master at answering the question, the writer's question, what if? Because every writer who is going to do fiction asks that question. Well, what if this? Or what if that happens? And with King, it's, what if snow suddenly turned red? That it started, I'm making that up myself. I'm not saying this is a King idea. But he would be driving through Bangor, and there's white snow everywhere, and something might pop into his head. What if snow was suddenly red? And he could probably develop an entire story based on the panic and what's the reason, and is it a threat? Is it this? Is it terrorism? Is it aliens? So no, I think there's plenty for all of them to do. And King, his new book is The Institute. It's coming out this October, and it's kind of like it's an expansion of Firestarter, and it revisits the shop. And there are children in the book who have wild talents, powers. So it's kind of like a continuation of the story of the shop, much like he continued the story of Danny Torrance from The Shining in Dr. Sleep. So I think he'll write as long as he can. It's not, he once said he's never written a thing for money. He's never sat down at the computer or the typewriter and thought, I'm going to write something. What will I get paid for it? He wrote because the story had to be told. And that often resulted in a great many short stories and novellas that a lot of fans tend to overlook sometimes, but they contain some of his most brilliant work.
We got time for one more question from our audience, and this one comes from Uncle Dale, although we never know if it's him or his mustache asking the question.
All right.
He is asking in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook, did Dark Towers span before or after the accident, and what's your thoughts? Because Dale thinks Dark Tower is King's greatest work.
That's a really interesting comment. And the final 3 books of the Dark Tower series, including and then Wind Through the Keyhole, was written after the accident. He cranked out 3-4 novels right away because the series, as you know, Dale, was only halfway finished. When I did my book, The Essential Stephen King, I had to come up with a ranking of King's 100 greatest works. And I talked to fans and fellow writers and readers, and they said, well, Dark Tower might be his greatest achievement. And I said, I know what you're saying, but it's 8 books. I don't know if I want to rank a series as his greatest book. So I went with It, which I think is his magnum opus. The top 10, my top 5 of my ranking was It, The Stand, The Shining, The Dead Zone, Misery. I think those, and then The Dark Tower was number 10. The series was number 10, and above that was Pet Sematary, Bag of Bones, I can't remember, Green Mile. So I know what you're saying, and if I had been ranking his series, I would have given it a number 1 rating, because I agree. 8 volumes, it's a masterwork the way Lord of the Rings is Tolkien's magnum opus. But I decided, and my editor agreed with me, I decided to go with single volumes in terms of the single volume in terms of greatest work. And to me, that novel is It. But The Dark Tower is legendary. And now Amazon is doing a TV series based on Dark Tower. They finished casting it. The movie was not well received by fans because it was purported to be a sequel, but it wasn't canon. It didn't really come from King. They used the characters in it, which, so be it. But yeah, that was the ongoing discussion I had when I was doing Essential King. Should it be It or The Dark Tower? And I said, I'm not comfortable with ranking 8 books as his greatest book. And so that's why we went with It.
We've got about 90 seconds left with you tonight, Stephen, and this is a show that has flown on by. I want to say a big thank you on behalf of our audience and everybody listening on you coming on for the show to break down Hollywood and UFOs, and then a little bit on Stephen King here. Really appreciate you taking the time. When we take a look at your work, tell our fans where they can find your books and what you're up to.
I'm everywhere. I'm on Amazon. My website is StephenSpignesi.com. I'm on BarnesandNoble.com, BN.com, which is really, Barnes & Noble, BN.com. I'm in the stores. I'm in bookstores. And, of course, anyone can get any of my things at an independent bookstore. They can order it. And the good news is that on Amazon, even my out-of-print books, like the Stephen King quiz book or anything, my JFK Jr. book, there's used copies available very, very, very inexpensively. So, yeah, I'm accessible and available pretty much everywhere.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen, so much for coming on the show tonight. What a pleasure it was to have you.
Namaste, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Coming up, we have the SOR Newswire. And, of course, we have the Thought of the Dave, which we will get to at the back end of the show. Not like last night when John Tenney was on. We wanted to get it on with him. But we want to say a big thank you to Stephen Spignesi for coming back on the show. What a fantastic, fantastic time that was. Hollywood UFOs. Great topic. Stay tuned. We're rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on the mighty SOR. The Newswire coming up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hi, George and Ori here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight. Opening day of Major League Baseball. Love my baseball. My Yankees won tonight. What a great day and a great pastime you have, America. Absolutely love it. Major League Baseball. 161 games to go. Here we go. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. And remember, a good chance for you to support this show is to go to our store on our website, click on the shop tab, because you would look good in one of our t-shirts, hats, drinking out of one of our coffee mugs. Great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Let's get to the news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire, the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the wacky, the WTF that goes on from every single day from every part of North America and the world, and especially Florida. We're going to start off right here in Canada. So, the Canadian government does some weird things every now and again. Well, apparently, now what they're trying to do to entice young people to sign up for entry-level jobs, the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat, it's an administrative branch that supports the Treasury Board, has issued a job posting for random selection of applicants to be determined the number of positions, because they are actually accepting those applicants who call themselves wizards and promising to use our sorting hat to place them into various administrative wizardry positions. So the ad goes something like this. Are you a Gryffindor? Brave, loyal, courageous, adventurous, a Ravenclaw, wise, creative, clever, and knowledgeable, a Hufflepuff, hardworking, dedicated, fair, patient, or a Slytherin, resourceful, ambitious, determined, and crave leadership. Yes, they're all references to Harry Potter books, but trying to get young people working. So far, it has created a lot of interest. A spokesperson from the board has said the public service is working to create a culture where innovation is supported and valued. Now, it looks like an April Fool's joke, but it really isn't. The Treasury Board Secretariat is trying to attract versatile, creative, and talented candidates. That's why we used innovative strategies in our selection process. I guess college and hard work just don't pay off anymore. Who needs that education when all you need is a wand? Or one of them staffs that, what's the dude, was trying to pawn off on this show? David Sarita. They're only $2,100 American. Go get yourself a staff. You could get a job in the Canadian government. Go figure. Now, I'm stunned by this. I'm stunned by this. The starting salary of this wizard project, $57,430, goes up to $61,877 annually for temporary, part-time, and full-time positions. Wow. Taxpayers' dollars at work right there. Go get yourself a staff. Don't need the education. Never mind that bachelor's degree, diploma, master's, doctorate, whatever it may be. All you need is one of those staffs and maybe a wand in order to get a good paying job with the Canadian government. Grinds my gears. Just grinds my gears. NASA, speaking of paying you, is willing to offer you $18,500 to spend 60 days in bed to test the effects of gravity. It's a 3-month study kicked off in Cologne, Germany, requiring participants to stay in bed for long stretches of time in order to test gravity and how the body adapts to weightlessness. NASA's teamed up with the European Space Agency to check this out. The NVHAB is the program called. 12 males, 12 female participants will be chosen. They'll receive about $18,000 each. They must eat, exercise, and shower while in a head-down tilt position, as doing so duplicates many of the effects astronauts face in low-gravity environment. But there is no gravity to pull blood flow from the legs. Astronauts' heads fill with fluids and their muscles and bones waste away, according to the European Space Agency. 60 days at $18,500. It's $92.50 a month. Very interesting. Would you do it? The ESA says, currently astronauts on board the International Space Station exercise for up to 2.5 hours per day and maintain a balanced diet to help mitigate microgravity's effects. But scientists believe adding a dose of artificial gravity could be key during longer-term missions. Could this be a prep for Mars or the moon? I wonder. Getting there somewhere. We got to get there somewhere. Let's move on, shall we? Now, we're entering spring. And right around the corner, for all of us out there, it's pretty much going to be mosquito season. God, I hate them little bloodsuckers. Last year, literally, if I went to take my dogs outside for a bathroom break, I got a window on my door. And you would see them hovering. Hundreds of them hovering. Just waiting. You know, I'm sure if I had a doorbell down there, they'd be ringing it and playing Nicky Nicky Nine Doors or something along those lines. I hate mosquitoes. Absolutely hate them. They love me. Love me. My daughter barely gets bit. Barely. Me? Oh, my goodness. It's like they're like, hey, Davey, you got some sweet blood. We remember you last year. I brought a few friends to come dining. Your O positive tastes really, really good. Zzz, zzz. We're waiting for you, Davey, because we know you're going to come outside. That's what it's like around my house. So apparently mosquitoes searching for a meal of blood have a variety of clues to track down humans, including body temperature and the carbon dioxide in our breath. Now, new research on this, though, is showing that they are smelling the chemicals that come out of our sweat. Targeting this receptor might offer a new way to foil the blood-seeking mosquitoes and prevent the transmission of diseases like the Zika virus and dengue, according to the Journal of Current Biology. Matthew DeGennaro from the Florida International University in Miami, he's a neurogeneticist. He says, we found a receptor for human sweat, and we found that acidic volatiles that come off of us are usually really key for mosquitoes to find us. He goes on to say, I think what's exciting about it is that we finally have evidence that there is some sort of pathway and a sense of smell that is required for mosquitoes to want our blood. Yes. I hate them. Hate the mosquitoes. Drives me nuts. All right. Joseph Taco of Elmira, New York, didn't have a good day the other day. Now, if you're going to steal something that is unique, would you not want to test out the packages inside? Oh, no. Not 38-year-old Joseph Taco. Now, being up here in Canada, don't have these up here. Little Debbie delivery trucks. Don't know what they're all about. But apparently they got some pretty good snacks on them. We don't get them up here. Just like you don't get some of our products down there. Well, he stole the truck from a loading dock that was absolutely full. Truck was found 20 minutes later. And he didn't even take any snacks with him. Police say Taco told them that he took the truck to visit relatives and friends. It was not reported where the alleged relatives and friends lived. He has been charged with felony possession of stolen property in the 3rd degree. He is in jail pending arraignment. But how do you steal a snack truck and not dig in? It's kind of sad. I almost feel sorry for the guy that he ripped himself off by not doing this. I mean, you get those chocolate rolls with the sugary icing that rolls up in them. The Swedish rolls or Swiss rolls, pardon me. I'm all over that. I am all over that like my kid is on candy. Absolutely I am. Absolutely, totally am. But I'll tell you, he's in jail, no free candy or snacks. Yeah, life isn't good for the dude right now. Instead of getting a little Debbie, he's a Debbie Downer sitting in jail, old Joseph Taco. Bad, Joe. Bad. Bad move. All right, finishing off in Florida, and this is one tough granny. Ferrick Thomas Jr. was fast asleep in his Little River home this past Wednesday night when he heard a knock at the door. The next few minutes of his life were literally wrestling in a life-or-death match. Now, that isn't to be made fun of, because their house was broken into. So, they were fighting for their lives, young Ferrick Thomas said, because the guy who tried to break into their house had a gun. This is where old grandma, June Green, 65 years old, decided she had enough of that. Well, let's see here. she decided to hit the guy in the head with a rock, smash it right in his face. June even got sucker punched. Otherwise was doing all right. Thomas had cuts and scrapes from his head to his toes, but he survived. Police were still questioning a man and woman who charged into Thomas's home. They haven't been named yet. Charges haven't yet been filed, but you know they're coming. There's a third suspect at large, Miami-Dade police are saying. This is terrible. Like, who deserves that? They were looking for money. They were looking for jewelry. But instead, they took a rock in the face and ended up in jail. Good for you, June Green. Good for you. Fighting on back. Let's get to the thought of the day. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages and read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What's your opinion on Hollywood movie depictions of extraterrestrials? Some interesting answers as we go through it. Let's get to them, shall we? David. Most either assume them to be brutish primitive creatures, which makes no sense, or unfathomable demigods. What if, as is more likely, they operate on motives much like our own, selfish, goal-seeking behavior that may not be noble? But is this relentlessly logical? Good point. Very good point. Let's move on. All right. Eric. Truth in many of them. I enjoy watching alien movies just to pick them apart. And very factual when you see humans shoot first and find out later they may have been a good race. Cat. V is for victory. Trying to get into the reptilians there. Bad. Jade says she absolutely loved the movie Paul. It was purely entertainment. Gabe thinks that Hollywood does a terrible job at depicting the alien races. Gabe says they're all pretty good except for Alien and Predator. Come on! Alien and Predator? Julianne on Twitter. Back then it was for war propaganda. Now it's for money and entertainment. Soon for technology. Potentially contact and disclosure. Oh, that's a good one. CE5 on Twitter says, outside of the film E.T., they have clearly painted a poor picture of our Star Nation friends and frankly have most people thinking that they are evil, blood-sucking creatures. Very sad. It's a perfect example of xenophobia designed to program the population. Arthur. Usually, I just assume everything is fact disguised as fiction. That's a good way to put it. Sev. Hollywood intentionally invokes fear. It equals money. The ETs are not evil, nor do they want to take over. Well, I think there's a few races out there that do. Passion for the paranormal on Twitter. Way too much in the way of aliens coming here for nefarious reasons. I would love to see another Close Encounters of the Third Kind type movie. I really would. Sweet Potato on Twitter says she loved Paul, the movie, and the alien dude. Wow. I like that movie too. I didn't think I would like it, but I actually really, really did enjoy it. Jamie. I love them. Favorite genre. I don't care how real it is or isn't. It's just great entertainment. Joe. The creature from the movie Alien is the only one that made me poop my pants. Yeah, that one was ugly. Alfred? Probably pretty close. They seem to be in the know with the government when it comes to aliens and their technology. Kelly? I have to say I liked the ETs in the movie Prometheus, and the movie Arrival with Charlie Sheen. Also, The Alien in Signs with Mel Gibson. Kelly, another Kelly. This one, Kelly's Beard. We never know who's answering it. He says, hey, let Hollywood do its thing. It's gave us the Mog. Gregory, they're all fails, especially the puppets. I do like the aliens on Farscape, although most other TV shows are total fails. As far as movies, I liked First Contact. Even the Borg are pretty cool looking. And War of the Worlds. But the first Total Recall with the alien Quado growing out of George's stomach just looked plain stupid. Jeffrey, most alien movies are just there to be the enemy for our hero to defeat. There are some good ones. Paul, Starman, K-Pax, Avatar. Uncle Dale. Actually, it's his Power Stash writing this one. Love me some Star Trek alien babes, and the human babes too, of course. Probably not what you're asking. Nope. Think you missed out on that one, Uncle Dale. But we'll blame the mustache on that one. Robert, the movie Paul, extremely accurate. You know, I do have to say, Paul, the alien in there, kind of looked a tad like Carl. Just a tad. Grant gets the final word. Predictive programming and mass conditioning, most especially movies, depicts invasion. People always seem to assume an advanced race, which is developed enough to be extra-dimensional or cross the vast reaches of space, will fight in a manner conducive to putting up a defense. Laser beams and pew-pew. Nope. That's ridiculous. Here are some more likely scenarios. A super pathogen, which is wired to human genetics only. An energy wave, which is synced to wavelengths affecting human nervous systems only, like an on and off switch. Click, we are fast asleep, or at least sleep paralysis mode. And last, and most likely, slow encroachment over centuries or millennia, where contact is made with leaders or leading organizations, and they are taught how to make the masses subservient and oppressed. Boom. Remember, the SOR Newswire can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Click on the news tab. Captain Shirk has you all lit up with the latest news. Big thanks to our guest tonight, Stephen Spignesi, coming on talking Hollywood UFOs. We're going to bring him back on in the fall. Tomorrow night on the program, SOR Paranormal Roundtable. I'm bringing in some friends to talk about the paranormal month that was. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in on social media. Hashtag Spaced Out Radio, the SOR Space Travelers Club, Spreaker, Rev Radio, and more. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thanks for doing your part to make us bigger and better every single night. Because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.